Welcome back. This is Sean recording for The Last Red King, D&D. Today we're going over the White Queen campaign. This is a homebrew campaign I am preparing for to run starting January 5th. That is going to be at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and hopefully um, we can have a good fun time with that. So, I do still have seats available for both my upcoming campaigns, the White Queen and the Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd is going to be Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, starting January 3rd. So, uh, if you'd like more information about those, I do have the application links for those that I can share as well. So, let's go ahead and head over into Foundry. Um, so one thing we did recently was we talked about this map here, where we were going to do some edits to make it so that um, we just used what was created by Seafoot Games, the creators of this, because they had this map as a pre-made module. So what I'm curious is what is it like? Because when I first came in, this is what I saw was all these sounds, and I'm very curious as to what those sounds are. So I'm just going to take this party token and move in to see if I can hear anything. Yeah. Yep, alright, volume set, so we should be able to hear something. Okay, so we got the burbling of the creek. And, yeah. Okay. Eh. Then the further away you get, the quieter it gets. And then they also did some walling, which is pretty basic walls, but it helps. It really does. Um, because now I don't have to do it. Is it how I would have walled it? No. Does it work? Yeah. Actually, I think the I think the one thing I am going to do with it, um, so I'm going to take all these inner walls and I'm going to change them to um, direction or limited. Now you see the problem is it is boxy, but now I do like this because it casts those shadows because you can't see what's up there. So I'll just leave it as this though. So Seafoot maps or Seafoot games. This is one of their maps. I like it. Should work out nicely. Now, what I really want to go through today, and I'll get this music playing again, is this tier 1 kind of story arc. And honestly, it leads into tier 2 quite nicely. Um, because tier 2, I kind of did a one shot to kind of create tier 2. And that was a fun one shot to run because all the players ran evil characters. And so, actually, one of my players who's going to be playing in the campaign played in the evil one shot. And they know that their character is going to make an appearance again. So it'll be fun. Especially since I have some twists up my sleeve for it. So, right now we have, starting off, the party is going to be going to the Baron or Baroness's estate. Going down to the kitchen to help the kitchen hand acquire the wine that's needed. Now, initially, it was pitched to them that they would just be doing some manual labor to dig out the wine that had been buried in the cellar. Truth is, the cellar's not the issue. It's the bandits on the road. So, the kitchen hand is going to give the party 3,000 gold. And this gold is to be used to buy the wine. And whatever is left over, they get to keep. So, they need to at least get 10 barrels of wine. If they just go to the winekeeper or the winemaker and ask for a barrel of wine, and how much that's going to cost, it's going to cost 300 gold. They mention it's for the keep, and they're getting 10 barrels. It's going to be 275 gold. Now, if they try to haggle, I have a scaling DC. If they roll a 10 to 14, they'll reduce it by 5 gold. So it's 270 gold. That means the party can make 300 gold. 15 to 19, they're going to, it's going to come down to 260. So they get another 100 gold. DC of 20 to 24, dropping it down to 250. So they get another gold. Now, if somehow they miraculously pull off a DC of 25 or higher at level 1, they're looking at the barrels costing 225 gold. So they can make 750 gold off of this first quest. But that's just an example of me trying to use a scaling difficulty challenge. So, we've explained why the kitchen hand's not going out to get it. The bandits. So, in advance, I'm going to roll a d10 and half it. And that's what trip the party's going to run into these bandits. And so, we're looking at a few different creatures for the bandits. Let's actually head over and let's figure out kitchen help. Nope, that's not the one. Alright, we don't have a map for this. Ooh. That's alright, because I've got a few already established. Let's see what we got for Grassland Road. Now, naming, yes, this is one I made in Dungeon Alchemist. There's a few things I like and a few things I don't like. I can tell you that right now. Alright, so one thing I'm going to do is get rid of that feature. We're going to go vertical fit, exclude sidebars, and darken it. There we go. I like doing this because now I get a good view of what I'm looking at. But because of how Dungeon Alchemist does their borders, I'm actually going to change it to a horizontal fit. Now, I have a cave hydra hiding there, but we can get rid of that. That is part of one of the one-shots I run on Adventuron, a Discord server that is designed for short, quick adventures, fun and compact. So tomorrow night I'm actually going to be streaming another adventure on their server. It is from the Dragon of Icespire Peak campaign. It is the Circle of Thunder. So if you want to try and join in on that fun, you're welcome to hop on over to their Discord. Adding that onto the adding that into the chat room right now. there's that. Adventure on. So, you can always find a chance to play with me at least once a week. This week I will be running a game Tuesday and Thursday. And then they do have paid games where they have seasons, where it's about 3 months. And right now they're doing a homebrew campaign, Mush Apocalypse, created by one of the other DMs and administrators. And then next, starting in February, I'll also be running the extended content for Dragon of Icespire Peak. Um, so, let's see here. This map is alright. The only issue I have is the broken furniture. However, I have more stuff. Soak more kingdoms. I'm gonna name it Dungeon Alchemist. Choose a file. Alright, here we go. I am just going to bring in a lot of my maps that I've got. Alright, now we are looking at the left to right road. Select. Save changes. There we go. Get rid of the shrubbery. Also got rid of some of the large rocks. This map will work perfect. Now, the one thing I wish I didn't do is have it export with the grid. However, it's not too big of an issue. It is actually a fairly light grid, so it's not too terrible. But let's go ahead and make sure the grid is lining up. Quick way to do that, I just FF. Oh, did I have gridless? No, there is a grid there. So, let's see. Yeah. I mean, one of the nice things about going with their grid is that the trees sit on top of the grid. So it does look a little bit more realistic, which is nice. Alright, so here's what I'm looking at. I like this look. It's good and clean. Let's go with that. So, we're going to pull out our combatants. Now, oh, not NPCs. We are looking at warriors. I'm going to have 2 warriors. I'm going to bring out the albino dwarf warrior from Tomb of Annihilation. He's going to jump out to attack the players. Which direction do I want the players coming from? I think I want them coming from the east. I'm going to put him here. And then I'm going to go with tribal and ragged. It doesn't change anything. So ragged is just taking up space. I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to put the tribal in here. Now, tribal features. Yep, I can throw the spear. Perfect. Because it is a little bit of distance to get caught up with them. So, now, you'll also see the character I dropped down, their ability scores are different. That is due to a module I'm running. Same with the hit points. So, that way, humanoids that they encounter don't always look the same. Oh, interesting. So, we are looking at randomizer. Oh, I already put the... That's why. I put all the humanoids I already had in there, so that's why. Perfect. Now, let's figure out. I'm going to need another humanoid. Do I want a caster or an archer? Let's look at both. Alright, let's look at these. I've got a higher chance of going with a caster because I've got 3 different casters. So, let's see here. Um, Casters are all at armor class 10, so pretty easy to hit. I'm not going to worry about sunlight sensitivity. Alright. Multi-attack. 2 attacks. Okay, that makes them a big threat. Especially with action economy. But no spells. Okay, I figured that much. Now, spell-wise. This Acolyte is almost worthless. With the exception of darkness. But even then, it's not of much help. Fairy Fire is very helpful. But, yeah, Fairy Fire, Sacred Flames. If Fairy Fire doesn't work, then they're going to be casting Blessed on their party. And just keeping Sacred Flame up. Alright. This Apprentice Wizard. They're really useless. Oh, but they've got these. Okay. They can do an Arcane Burst. Ranged spell attack with a +4 to hit. Let's look at their show. +4 to hit. Average of 5, average of 7. Ooh, this makes them quite deadly. Kind of a glass cannon. The Drow Acolyte. Yeah, we're kind of stuck with what they are. You got Fairy Fire and Sacred Flame. Sacred Flame is going to be dependent on the character. Well, the character they're targeting. I'm going to say I'm not going to do the Drow Acolyte. Now, this Panopticus Wizard. He's got 2 uses of Burning Hands and Firebolt. I like that. Can also have him throw up Shield once, or twice, or both times, to totally negate and get rid of not use Burning Hands. It definitely makes sense for them to have Disguise Self for what they're doing. Um, I think I'll go ahead and do I'm going to say the Scouts out. Um, well, let's hold off here. Firebolt. Intelligence is what they're using. Is a +2, so a +4 to hit. Just like everybody else. Because the kid, +2. +2. Attribute, 2, 2. Okay, so everybody's a +4 to hit. Honestly, I see this Apprentice Wizard being more of a challenge than the Panopticus Wizard. Uh, so, and then, I mean, Mage Armor, 13 plus Dex, so, you know, armor class is up to 13 now. And since he'll know that he's trying to get gold and loot off of individuals, he's going to have that up. So this wizard is going to be tough. I like it. Alright, where'd you go? Princess Wizard. Alright, he's going to be hiding out back here. These guys. We're going to hide. Now, walling. Oof. One thing I like to do is wall my trees. And I just do quick circles of 8. There we go. Now, I know the type of tree that they're showing is kind of like a evergreen tree that you find up in the mountains that, is pretty hardy to the winter. And so, it actually doesn't make sense for them to be able to move through them. But at the same time, actually, you're right. It doesn't make sense for them to be able to move under and through them. So, screw that, they won't be able to move through them. They can just see that it's a big tree. Now what I'll do is like this one down here, these 2 walls, I'll go back through later and I'll delete those. Just to make it quick and easy, I'm using Enter key instead of going up and hitting that check mark each time. But yeah, this is DF's curvy walls. I'm also using Monk's wall enhancements. Both of these modules are very useful. They also don't like each other. But hey, when they work well enough to get a job like this done quickly, I am very happy. So, I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible because walling is not the funnest part of D&D. People say that the combat is boring, slow and boring, and I understand that. I mean, it can be. Um, and so it's just working with the environment, saying, okay, what can I do here that is unique? And that's part of the problem with virtual tabletops is people don't use their imaginations as much. Oh, I've got this. Okay, whatever. Let's move. Alright. I'm hiding somewhat. I'm good. What about trying to climb up the tree and then jumping down to stab the person? What's wrong with that? Or what about, um, you know, making it so that you hide amongst the dead or hide in a bed? Anything really to be unique. I find that more people do that with Theater of the Mind than they do with battle maps. And so that's kind of the problem with battle maps, in my opinion. So, let's see here. We have our tokens, we have our map. So yeah, the party. Ooh. Alright, so something's not quite right. Let's see here. Configure the map. Lighting. Token vision. There we go. Oh, so they would be able to see my dwarf albino, or albino dwarf warrior. And they would also be able to see the warrior. Very interesting. But here's the thing. I'm not going to have them, okay, explore the map as you go with your barrels of wine. No, I'm going to drop them in when the bandits present themselves. And so it might, if they have good perception, if they are being perceptive, watching out for all this stuff, then it might be that the party spots the bandits back here. It might also be that they don't spot them until right. And so, if they don't spot them until here, they've already started to rush. So, this will be good. Now, I thought we came up with something. What is the name of the bandits? I thought we had something. Let's see here. Oh, we do have something. Alright. We're going to the Silver Kingdom. We have Zathos. Zathos is the leader of the bandits. And in his biography, we have the anonymous bandits. They are known for hiding their true identities. When they are seen out and about, they typically cover their faces and all skin to prevent any chance of identification. Perfect. This is going to work good. So, now, really, what should I do with my tokens? Well, I should go ahead and go through appearance. Ooh. Yeah, we'll just leave it at 1. And just make it black. That's what I should do. Am I going to? Nope. Now, some of my players might recognize what they are because they've played for long enough. So what? I just ask them not to metagame, and even still, if they do, ability scores are changed, health points are variable. So, ooh, I didn't realize that dwarf is stacked. 28 hit points. They're going to take a while to take down. And they've got a hand axe. Ooh. +3 to hit, so not the highest. And then hit damage is only 4. But, ooh, actually that might be really bad. If you think about it. Because, you bring in a caster, and this guy gets behind them. Ooh, they're gonna hit hard. Because at that point I'm looking at needing about a 7 or higher on the die to hit. And I don't know. That's kind of yikes. And also I think it's silly that they would be using their decks for this. Let's see here. Details. Oh no, it says strength. Yikes. So obviously this didn't update, but if I was to roll it, head over. Yeah, that's a +5 to hit. Oof. And then you got +3 on damage. You're minimally taking that 4 damage. That's going to be tough. Oof. I think I'm going to have to change him out. He is too strong. So, let's head back and let's take a good look at, and let's just, I think I'm just going to stick with another warrior. And hide them. So, let's see here. Yep, different strength, different dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma I'm not too worried about. And they ended up all in the same modifier bracket anyway, so that's cool. issue. Alright, cool. So, here's our first encounter that the players are going to get to have. And so, it's going to start with social, where they get to talk with the kitchen hand, figure out what's going on. Then they're going to make their way out and about in town. And when they do that, I'm going to kind of start to show them the world, and show them things that they can do and explore. One of the first things I'm going to make sure that they know and see is a mission board or a quest board. That way they can say, oh, hey, we can pick up our regular quests or our early mid-game quests here. Because I want them to be able to pick up small tasks like that when they go into a town. And in one of my earlier campaign prep videos for the White Queen, we kind of went through one of my books I have. Trying to think what the name is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do have it right here. It is the book of Random Table Quests, and that is by Matt Davids. You can find him on Amazon and I want to say the Drive-Thru RPG. So now we've got our combat. All right, so players, they'll see the quest board, they'll head out to the winery. There will be more social. They'll haggle with the seller, or they won't, and they may end up not getting any gold if they don't even mention it's for the keep. And then, I mean, they could ask the kitchen hand, and he'll tell them, "Hey, make sure you mention it's for the keep." But if they don't ask, it slips the kitchen hand's mind. Now, make things easier. They're gonna recommend take a hand cart. That way they can bring back 2 barrels at a time instead of 1, which would have to be carried. Now, we also have to be careful because the wine barrels can be destroyed. So if they get into a fight, thankfully there's no AoE spells, so I think we should be good. But the players have to be careful of the barrels. Now, bandits. The players get their wine. Let's find out how many trips they're going to have to take. We're going to roll a d5 because we can do that here. Ooh, on the last trip. Ooh. So as the night is starting to set, let's go ahead and let's set the lighting. Can I move this? No, not that more. Alright. Oh, I did configure this. Let's see here. Not worried about griddle. Let's see here. Basics. I'm looking for lighting. I am looking for lighting. Darkness level. It is starting to get dark. Let's go with a 0.2 on the lighting. That gives it a little bit of darkness, but not a terrible amount. Now I'm trying to figure out how to move this thing back. Oh, interesting. I'll have to figure it out with the curvy walls. Alright. Oh, here we go. There we go. Put it back. Let's see what all these different things or different styles look like. Alright, and let's see what this one is. Ah, that's actually not bad because then it's really out of the way. I like that. Okay, let's see here. Alright, so party encounters the bandits, fight ensues, or maybe the players just give the bandits the last of the gold. Or maybe the party has enough gold that they give some of the gold and go buy another 2 barrels. So, um, realistically, they're going to attack the bandits. We know how it goes. Players tend to be more murder hobo than they are anything else. So, they're going to come across 2 tribal warriors, and they're going to come across an apprentice wizard. Um, so, now, why are the bandits after the wine? Simple enough, they like to get drunk. But also, they've noticed that these guys have gone through the road a few times now and have had barrels of wine. That means they've got gold. So they are after the wine and the gold. If the party tries to figure out where they came from, they will find that there is a trail leading back to their camp. Now, what's the DC on this? Because it's going to be a survival. Um, let's go with a DC. Bandits aren't that difficult. They're humanoid. Let's go with a... I'm debating between 15 and 17. Let's go ahead and go with 15. Oh, that's a 2. DC 15 survival. Now, I'm not going to pull up a map for this when they get there, because one of 2 things are going to happen. When they find that there is another bandit here who is injured, they're either going to kill him or they're going to torture and try to investigate it. Now, if the party finds them, this individual is going to have 2 key things. Alright, first one is information. And they're injured. So they're going to say, hey, if you help me, I will give you whatever information you need about the bandits, about the anonymous bandits. And here, I'll give you this broken sword. It's made out of very fine materials. Now, I'm going to tie this into a future quest. A few, actually, because there's going to be the quest for the anonymous bandits. But there's also a tie-in to adventures needed to retrieve materials. We need a name. So I'm going to head over to Fantasy Name Generator. Great tool, by the way. I absolutely love it. And we're going to pull out a name for like a metal or... oh, here. They do have a metal. We're going to call it Espit Ore. Alright. Now, the bandit obviously doesn't know what this is. But if they go to this blacksmith, then they should be able to get some more information. Now, the tricky part is the hilt has several runes that tell the name of the swordsmith. There are other runes on the blade that mention yet another name. Now, initially, from the uh, book mentioned earlier, for quests, it also has, if they investigate the origin of the sword, they will find a sad tale. And normally it says it will lead them to the tomb of the original carrier. I don't know necessarily how far into that I want to play it. Um, I'm trying to think maybe I'm trying to figure out where else, because this ore is exceptionally rare. So for a bandit to be holding on to it, how did they get it? Let's see here. You know what? If they find out how to read it, it will take them to a tomb. And so, grave robbing. That makes sense. So, let's see here. Let's go back to the world map. Now, um, Yogram and Yukan, those are dwarven cities. Starhorn is a halfling city. Finalari and Meothalis are elven. Everybody, all the others, Alamel and Alamel and Golgari especially, are heavily mixed, as well as Kingshill Harbor. Kingshill Harbor is the capital of the Silkmoor Kingdom, as as the name implies, it's the King's Hill. Now, North Shore, South Shore, and Millgard are vastly human. Now, they do have sprinklings of elves and uh, dwarves, halflings, and gnomes, but let's see here. Here we go. Humanoids. Ascended elves, including sea elves, uh, but those are only really found near Meothalis and Finalari, and that's rare still. Now, we're looking in, and this is, I have my races narrowed down for game reasons, um, because I I do want it to feel almost almost like there is discrimination in the world. That's just how it is, because the monstrous races are not understood, um, and that's kind of why there's not so many sea elves, is because they're not so well understood. And so in this kingdom, just because the further away from the monstrous races they are, the more normalized, and I do that with air quotes, the races are. So you have your dwarves, your elves, and I made sure to know we're looking at the Drow, the High Elves, the Mark of the Shadow, the Paladin, and the Wood Elves. Um, because I don't want elves from the stars or whatever the elf is for Spelljammer. And then we have our gnomes, our Goliaths, our half elves, halflings, and humans. Gnomes, Goliaths, um, and halflings are not very common. Half elves are pretty common. Half elf, half dwarf, that would be common. Now, the Ascended, which I showed, that includes the Aasimar and Warforged. Now, even that has restrictions. There can only be one Aasimar per adventuring party at a time. If the Aasimar if the character that's an Aasimar dies, I'm going to tell that player, hey, you can't play another Aasimar. Gotta let someone else have a chance if they die to play an Aasimar. And so, if another person wants to play an Aasimar, they can at that point. Now, Warforged. They're known as automatons in the world. They don't have an origin story really, because nobody knows where they come from. All they know is that they arrive at their destination and they speak the same first words. Hello, I am here to serve you. Now, what people who open the door take from that statement varies from door to door, as many automatons are put to use as vendors, servers, and various other positions. And when they're set to their tasks, they are very hard to sway from their directive, unless by the owner. So, when someone creates an automaton, they need to either have well, it's not either. They need to have a good tie to whoever they're working with, or to one of the party members. Alternatively, they can have a secret background, a secret backstory, where they're actually working for a baron or baroness, a competing baron, a competing family for the throne, and be told, hey, go with these explorers, work with them, or go with these adventurers, work with them, figure out what they're doing, figure out what the other people of the lands are doing. That would be a very fun uh, little side story, character development story to work with. Now, at one point, I did think about allowing like one monstrous character, just so that the party can feel the discrimination. But the reason why we play D&D is to get away from that. So I don't really want to allow that chance even. Because, I mean, the world's already toxic. This is supposed to be a game where we can break away from that crap. So, let's just leave it out. Alright. Let's head on over, and we were looking at the tomb. It really depends on where the party starts. Wherever the party starts, this tomb is going to be from a city that's not too far away. But I mean, if you look at it right now, I'm as zoomed in as I can, like Alamel to Yukon, you're still looking almost 100 miles. That's a 4-day trip. Now, Yukon to Yogram, that's about 50, so about 2 days. And I really, really hate that it's 24 miles a day. Like, that's just awkward. and not easy math. Like 25? 25 makes it so much easier. Like seriously. Um, but I also get that they're like eights. They're going to travel for 8 hours because that's a work day, which kind of silly because I mean if you're trying to move, get through your yeah. So that said, um, it doesn't. Everything's spaced out actually pretty well because I mean now how long would it take to go from one corner of the kingdom to the other is a quite interesting question. 500 miles, about 20 days, a whole month almost. That's good. That means nobody's going to be doing it. They might go from one city to another in their lifetime, but they don't really do it because traveling, it there's no need for it. Now, the city up here, Kamaluhai. I'm sure I butchered that. Um, it's actually a Hawaiian word, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it stands for peace. It is Hawaiian, um, and it has a few translations. Um, uh, the peace, but yeah, there's a few different connections. Mostly it's around peace, and this is supposed to be a peaceful, free city, not tied to any kingdom. Because as you can see, I've got the Dirt Cross domain over here. Another, um, it's another. There we go. It's another one of the kingdoms or uh, established countries within the banished world. Just like we have the League of Mad Bell, the Hot Enclave. The Hot Enclave is actually pretty special. The Bone Mirror Empire, the White Ward Union, the Eagle Shade Empire. Now, the White cities are free cities. The Hot Enclave, they have a few cities, but they're interesting because the only people who get to the Enclave, or to the Hot Enclave, never return, and if they do, they don't remember being there. The people who come from there are all Asimars otherwise. So, with that, alright. I don't know what city, but we're going to put city down. Alright, so the Espit Ore. We're going to make sure that's the key thing here. The adventurers needed to retrieve the materials is the next quest that I've got kind of on the board. But I will present uh, adventurers needed to retrieve materials, and the person's going to be offering up gold and a weapon. What I'm not going to explicitly tell the players is it's a +1 weapon. No. I'm also going to give the players a chance at a random encounter with creatures that can be mounts. This early in the game, I think I'm going to go ahead and just go with horses. And that would be very helpful for them because they'll be off-road traveling. So horse taming, or at least capturing. And this is where I'm going to do that scale of DCs again. And honestly, a scale of 25 to 10, 25 being the most successful outcome, is pretty good way to do it, I think. Um, Now, DC 25, they find I would say they would probably be finding and befriending a mare. Because if I'm not mistaken, the mare is the female. Male horse is stallion, female mare. Now, horses, if I'm not mistaken, let's look at the hierarchy. Yep, a herd of wild horses consists of 1 or 2 stallions and a group of mares. The leader of the herd is usually an older mare, the alpha mare, even though 1 stallion owns the herd. She, however, maintains her dominant role, even though she may be physically weaker than the others. Alright, perfect. So, we're looking at befriend an alpha mare. And so if they find and befriend an alpha mare, we're going to lower DC for party by 3 on other levels, or other tiers. So that means it's going to be a 2017 split, a 15-12, and a 10-7. So, finding and befriending alpha mare of good condition. So I mean, it might be an older horse, but it's still going to be strong and healthy. 17 to 20, or the 2017 split. Let's go with eh, let's go with a mare from the herd is curious enough to let you um, guide it. Not ride it, guide it. None of these would. Yeah. Um, Now, if anyone tries to get on the horse, they're going to fall off instantly. And they're going to take damage. And the horse is going to do a kick at disadvantage. Because the horse has not been broken in. So, a mare from the herd is curious enough to let you guide it. And then 1512, a young stallion is being troublesome, but stays around. It acts like it wants to play with you. And then 10-7, a little fowl curiously sniffs you. So really there's no failing on this. Unless you roll below 7, then you just fail. Let's just do that. Less than 10/7. Uh, None of the horses seem interested in your attempts. And we're going to go less than 5. You spook the horses and they run. Alright, cool. Now, why that is especially important to do, in my opinion, for this campaign, because uh, situations like that, to me, are a huge boost for the players, because it can be. I want to give them like part of their leveling up is milestone experience points. Acquiring a mount. Why shouldn't that? Acquire a common mount. Horses. Oh, here we go. And so that's just going to be worth a quarter of a point. Alright, so. We have the anonymous bandit boss, and that is Zathos. He's worth 1.25 points, which I'm expecting to be around level 5 or so. Actually, what I need to do. Oh, no. Alright, let's see here. There we go. Here we go. Let's do this. Um, right now on my other screen here, let me actually just pull this up here. What I'm doing is I am working on my point system. So like I have my template and I want to be able to look at it easily. And I want to be able to identify, hey, this is my template. Don't mess with these. So 49 through 50. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to do all my templates. Let's get them colored in the same color. And we'll go from there. Now, I picked all this up after running Curse of Strahd this time. And it's interesting because, like, normally Curse of Strahd is um, milestones. But I didn't do milestones. And the reason being is I don't care for it. Because it's just too structured at that point. So. And so. And so I found on the DM's Guild uh, a way to do milestone experience points. And it's been very enjoyable. And so I took this from how I did it with Curse of Strahd for my current group that's been playing for 15 months now. And now I'm implementing it for pretty much every campaign I'm going to do. Now, for Curse of Strahd, it's a lot easier because, well, I already have Curse of Strahd set up. Um, it's when, like, with my group that I'm running it with now, they say, hey, we really enjoy these characters, we want to keep playing after Strahd is dealt with, that it gets interesting because it's like, alright, well, now I have to homebrew stuff, which is perfectly fine because that's what I'm doing here. And so, uh, once I start getting close to the end for them, I'm going to have to switch over to one night a week for the White Queen, one night a week for or new Curse of Strahd, and one night a week for the current Curse of Strahd. And my homebrew shenanigans with that. Because yeah, it's going to be interesting. I did a card reading with Madame Eva with the party last night, or 2 nights ago now. Yep, 2 nights ago. And it was interesting, to be sure, because they had the Dark Lord again. And so they know they need to deal with them. And Madame Eva just threw the cards out there. There was no structure. Where the cards landed, the cards landed. Face down next to the Dark Lord, they flipped it over and found that it was a traitor amongst their midst. And that was fun because all the character players started pointing fingers at the other person's characters, except for two of them who pointed at themselves, saying, "Am I the person?" um, and then there was the beggars who landed on top of the Dark Lord. There was the Mist card, which landed on its side before falling, being face up, away from the Dark Lord. And then almost angrily, two cards slammed into the table. The Wizard and the Ghost. And so, we will have to see what comes of that. So, let's see here. Now, here's my issue. Is like right now, there's not too much in terms of experience points. If they did all these quests that we currently have planned, go over to sheet 1, they're looking at 0. um, 46. Okay. Oh, because, well, let's just do this. $450. That breaks level 3. That just breaks level 3. Oh, that's not good. No, exploration. Here we go. This is where we need some stuff. So we're going to insert a row below. We're going to remove the coloration. And we're going to insert a few more rows. No, stop highlighting. I want that. Alright. So, uh, starting city. Alright. I don't know what that is yet. Actually, we should put that right here. Let's make it so I can easily identify that I need to fill it in. Starting city is about 0.31. Alright, what else do we got? Alright, well, we got a quest. That, alright, so some of the quests that we're gonna have, like, going out to the winery, that's not really going to have any exploration experience points value. Now, getting the sword from the fellow who's down, I'm going to say that's an item. It's an item of no use as it stands. But I think later on, if they actually work with it, work with the blacksmith on it, they might be able to turn it into a very rare item later on. So, acquire broken sword. Injured bandit. Alright. And let's correct the spelling there. Alright. Now, why am I just giving out experience points willy-nilly? Well, simply enough, I need them to level up. I need them to level up fast. So, like, going from level 1 to level 2, they need 1 whole point. Broken sword is a quarter. Starting city is 0.3. So that we're halfway there. We're gonna insert. We're gonna have clear the cellar. Now, that is moving the story point plot along. But it's not really a big one. Here we go. I'm going to make a new category. Alright. I mean, side quest kind of fits this category, but it's not. It is the main starting quest. Um, they they totally could ignore it. Let's see what we can do. Um, you know what? Let's do this minor story plot because that's what it is. It's a minor. And we're going to go with the 0.63. There we go. That's what we're doing. 0.63. That means that with 0.63, and I'm just going to pull up a calculator real quick, bring it in. 0.63 plus 0.31, because they're going to get those two. At the least, they're going to get those two. I mean, we're at 0.94. Nice thing about being the DM is I don't have to be hard and fast on leveling up points needed. 0.06 off. At the end of the session, I'm going to let them level up. No, that doesn't mean that they're at 1 point right now. No, that means they're at 0.94. So they're still going to have to reach 3 to get up to level 3. Basically how I do it is whatever level they're trying to attain, they need the previous or the current level added onto what they already have. So they had 0 experience points, and they're level 1, so they need 1 more to get level 2. For level 3, now they need 2 more experience points from level 2. 4 to, and so on, until eventually they hit around level 10. From here on, or actually 11, from here on, it's 10 experience points needed until they hit level 15, or 16. Now they're needing 12. In the end, get all the way up to level 20, they need about 155. I'm wanting to propose about 250 possible points. It's going to take a long time. And I don't expect this to be a fast campaign. Uh, this is going to be a slow, fun, very fulfilling campaign. Because looking at my notes for the campaign arc, because this was a rough land that I've been working with. Tier 1, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quests that I'm like, alright, let's push them into um, level 3, 4, right, or level 4 at the end of that. And then we're going to take a little bit of a break and have them explore their backstories. How am I going to do that? I don't know, because I need their backstories. Um, the current player, the current player that I have is a good friend of mine. I work with them, and I been playing with D&D with them for a little over 2 years now. I know what they want to do with their character, and this is a time where a major component to what they want to do with their character is going to happen. I might tell them, hey, you're this level. You're welcome to roll your hit dice, but don't take a level in a class. And if I need to, I'll explain it to them. But knowing them, they trust me, and they'll know exactly what I have planned. And honestly, I don't mind just telling them straight out, hey, we're working on something with your backstory. I need you to just go with me on this, alright? You only get your hit die, and it's this size. because they made it clear, hey, this is the path I want my character to take, and I want to multi-class. So it's like, all right, where do you want that break? Where do you want to go from this class to the other class? Right then, perfect. I can work with that very easily. Um, and that's kind of why character creation, I'd like to do something special with this campaign, where we do one-on-one character creations. That way I get to walk the players through the world and see what we've got. Um, and so, like, for them, they looked at this map of the Soakmore Kingdom and said, hey, uh, what's up here in the Grey Rise? And so he chose a city out, or a spot in the mountains, and said, hey, that's where my elf is from. Um, actually, let's go and pull this up. Let's see here. And I did did uh, just a one-on-one session with them where we recorded it. And so let's see here. Morlenor. It is a clan of moon elves, or not moon elves. It's is it moon elves? Can't remember. Um, but he got me his little character art that he's gonna be looking at using. It looks great. I'm really excited for him. He's playing a character called Loch Wyvern. I might be butchering it, and so I look forward to hearing him actually say it. Um, but oh, it's the Pallid Elves. That's what it was. So he's got a city, a little village, not really silly city, uh, where he's got. There we go. That's what it is. Oh, come on. Actually, I need to edit. Oof. Oh, come on. Oh, I really screwed up on that one. Alright, here we go. Text. I don't want Arial. Problem is, I don't remember what I had. Was the. Nope. Oh, I actually like that. But we do need to make it. Alright. This is ridiculous. Oh. Alright, text. We're gonna go down to 32, see what that looks like. Alright. Now, we can send that to the back. Lock it in. I'm trying to get this little dot. There we go. Unlock it. Apparently I'm just dragging this sucker wherever I need to today. Bring it up to the top, that way I don't have to deal with it getting dropped. Alright, let's go ahead, let's make this a little bit easier on me. There we go. And we'll make it visible for now. Yogram, text, Signica 12. Alright. Oh, there's one other thing I needed off that, and that's the color. Here we go. And we are looking at this being more Lenore. Lock that in. Oh, we gotta change that. That's not good. I do not want lines. Alright, there we go. More Lenore. There we go. Now I can just boop, make those invisible. And there we go. We've got our map updated. Alright, here we go. And that's what I'm going to do with all my players is, where's your character from? Where in this kingdom? Is it from one of the cities? Is it from an outlying village? I do have some restrictions because, like, okay, Aasimar, you're going to be from the Hot Enclave. Just, that's it. um, as you adventure and meet other Aasimars, maybe poke and ask questions, you might even develop some things. I don't want to delve too much because I want players to experience it, but I'm thinking certain memories, flashbacks, something like that maybe. Um, and then player characters, I want to say, are not going to be able to come from the Bone Mirror Empire because that is a aggressive. It's interesting because the Bone Mirror Empire, the League of Mad Bell, those two are both very aggressive. Free cities tend to be rather peaceful. The White Ward Union also tends to be rather peaceful. Um, not trusting so much of outsiders, um, though they are a lot less discriminatory. The Eagle Shade Empire is monstrous. Um, quite literally monstrous racist. Um, but it is very interesting because they also greatly hate the humanoids. So the elves, humans, dwarves, and those sorts. And so they're a very strongly opinionated group as well. The Dirt Cross Domain, they're just pissed because they feel like they get treated like trash. They have terrible land that's not the most fruitful. Um, I mean, like, even the Iron Keep here. Um, sure, they have a mine up in the uh, Grey Rise, but that doesn't really help them with anything. Oh, hey Magnus. Sorry, I didn't see a comment. So, uh, what makes this world the banished world? Honestly, I went with the banished world just as, like, I was honestly going through uh, fantasy name generator, just trying to pick up a world that sounded good. Um, and when I came across that one, I was like, all right, just it sounds cool. Yeah, it definitely does. But something to it, and so one of the overarching stories that I've got weaving with this world, it actually has to do with the Sunshard Range over in the Hot Enclave, and pretty much the main religion with throughout the whole world, with the exception of the Eagle Shade Empire, and that is the Ascension. And so, basically, um, the Aasimars, for the most part, go about preaching about the Eternal One. Um, and so the Eternal One is Xylus, um, I want to say he's a light dragon. I can't remember exactly what his stat block is. Yes, a light dragon from um, another plane, and basically he's created this whole world in in search of someone who will travel. But when um, when those individuals are offered the chance to prove themselves, um, and I had a party of adventurers go through meeting Xylus, and it was very tense because there were three options, well, four options actually, that they could have taken. Um, First off, they could have um, engaged in combat with Xylus because Xylus was blocking their path towards this portal of light, which they assumed was their only way of ascension. The second way was to not engage in combat and talk with Xylus, or ask Xylus to move out of the way and let them through. Which they kind of did. They could have turned back, forgotten the whole thing, or yeah, one of them decided that they were going to um, turn back. Was it turn? No, it was accept a wish from Xylus. And the fourth option, which is the true ascension, is to travel the worlds with Xylus. And so, um, yeah, it would be very interesting. I think what I might try doing one time is trying some sort of spelljammer one shot where they're not in charge of the ship because the ship is technically Xylus, and they're getting to explore. Uh, they get to leave the banished world to explore another. Um, and so I think that would be really fun. Oh, yeah, and so that's why I'm like, I don't want to go into like, hey, you guys are able to build a spaceship or a ship that flies through space. Um, but I am also not really, I'm not really big on the Spelljammer. I'm not sold on it. I've played in a one shot for Spelljammer. Um, it was cool. It was fun, but it was to me um, just D&D, nothing too special. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to always try and fix it, um, or fix things, because like right now I'm focusing on the White Queen tonight. Oh, okay, nice. Um, yeah, so like for me tonight, I'm working on the White Queen homebrew stuff. Um, but like last night and Wednesday night, I'm working on Curse of Strahd and getting all that ready, and that is a beast. um, because like, oh, interesting. Yeah, and I mean that's one thing I'm curious about is like end game stuff. So, oh, very nice. Um, yeah, I definitely enjoy some of the space games that are out there, but with D&D and just fantasy for me in general, um, I like to be boots on the ground kind of stuff. I mean, the flying ships and all that are really cool. Um, but once you hit the sci-fi kind of stuff where you're flying in space, that's where I want actual sci-fi, like Star Wars and such. Oh, wow. Yeah, you definitely have been overhauling it if you're at 70 pages. Woo. uh, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Spelljammers, yeah, it's definitely interesting because it's kind of a blend of sci-fi and pure fantasy. And that's why I just haven't really gotten that hook onto it into it yet. So strictly speaking, not sci-fi at all. I mean, I mean that is fair because I mean there's not really any science into it. It's just pure magic, which is fantasy. So yeah, yeah, that would be. It is interesting for sure. So, but yeah, right now, what I've been working on is some of the is the tier one adventuring and trying to make sure I've got like enough experience points with um, oh wow, yeah. Um, I'm not tying Curse of Strahd into my banished world, just because the Curse of Strahd world already is pretty inclusive. Um, Now, if players want to have their characters' backstories come from this world, they're absolutely welcome. I've got a player in my current campaign that's been going for 15 months. Um, in the last month, asked, "Hey, what's a city in your world that my player could have been from?" And so we picked Milgard, since he's playing a human bard. And so it's interesting because with some of his backstory, because we started at level 3, so they had some little bit of leniency on what they've experienced. Um, he chose to have some lycanthropy issues, and so um, I'm definitely going to make sure to know that hey, there's some lycanthropes around Milgard, but um, really I'm not looking too much to tie Curse of Strahd into this world because Curse of Strahd is pretty well made, but poorly structured in my opinion. Just because all the information is just so spread out. Um, but having played it fully once and partially a handful of times, and then running it fully, um, yeah, yeah, I've to get to a point where I actually love it. I had to spend about 500 hours on the campaign. Yeah, yeah, as is, it is extremely dry and not scary at all. Um, so I've had to add in extra elements um, and make it a little more difficult. So like we've got some house rules we're running with. One of the toughest ones for the players to get through is um, the alternative rule for how long rests work, where at the end of your rest, before you get your new hit dice, you roll hit dice to regain hit points. And that has made a huge impact. Um, and then we use the madness tables, short term, long term, and indefinite. We've actually had a number of people roll on the indefinite, which is quite interesting. Um, but the short term, if they go unconscious or if something happens, if they go unconscious and roll a natural one, then they'll get a long term madness. And then the indefinite things can vary. So like I had one player, uh, a fire genasi. Yeah, yeah. Fire genasi quite literally kicked a Vistani in the balls, and so they cursed her with vulnerability to fire. So she went from being resistant to vulnerable, and when she found when she came to that realization, when she got burned by a tree because the tree was on fire, I had her roll Indefinite Madness. Now, they've corrected her curse. It took two casters casting Remove Curse at the same time to get rid of it. Um, for them to break the curse, killing the Vistani that cursed her, um, and for her to be back to who she was, but she still has that Indefinite Madness. So, yeah. Curse of Strahd can easily be a tough one for people to run correctly, in my opinion. Um, it's not a good beginning campaign. Uh, Another campaign I would say is not a good beginner campaign is actually the campaign with the Essentials kit, Dragon of Icespire Peak. And that was my first um, dive into D&D. I started off DMing that May of 2020, and I've tried running it a few times, and it's just terrible. It's poorly structured, poorly organized, in my opinion. I would not run it again. um, yeah, just a baby. Yeah, yeah, definitely a young DM in that sense, but it it's been good. I've ran Icewind Dale, Dragon of Icespire Peak, Curse of Strahd. Um, I've tried a few homebrew stuff, a bit of homebrew stuff within Faerun. Didn't care for running in Faerun just because everyone's like, "Hey, this is the lore," and I'm like, "This is too established." Like, I feel like I have to read about the city before I even bother mentioning it, or before a player mentions it. It's just too much prep. And so having my own world where I have my own lore works really nice for me. Um, but also like Curse of Strahd, it's very narrow niche, and people coming into there, their characters technically don't know much of anything, and so that works well too. But yeah, I'm definitely a lazy DM, and hence why I try to do as much prep ahead of time as I can. So, well, let's see here. Last 15 minutes. Let's see what else we can find to get done with this story arc. Um, so tier one, pretty much the players are going to be working through a. There, yes, I agree. Curse of Strahd, I have prepped it so much. Like I said, I spent about 500 hours in it. You can have a nice effect with this view 3 cities. You surely can. Um, and that's why I'm like, I don't need to know everything about all my cities. I just want to give them names, give them a map, um, know a little bit about them. But like, I'm not gonna have an intricate, detailed map of Kings Hill Harbor because that's not needed. Um, no, if it gets to a point where like they're always at Kings Hill Harbor and I have another campaign based out of it eventually, maybe I will. But for right now, I'm waiting to see what my group decides on where they're going to start from. Are they going to start from Finalari, North Shore, Starhorn, where? Um, and then from there, I can really build up on it and figure out what about that city is special. Um, and then I can just plop in a few little villages in the outskirts that they can be visiting for some of these quests in the tier 1. Um, and so yeah, the tier 1 stuff that I've been working on today, is working towards clearing out a bandit lair in the area. Because they've got the anonymous bandits who wear masks to cover their faces and clothing to cover all their skin to just remain as anonymous as possible. And so um, their introductory quest is clear the cellar, which is really not what they're going to end up doing because um, the kitchen hand had to come up with a lie so that the Baroness, or Baron or Baroness, would give them gold to go get more wine. Truth is that they ran out of wine. So the only reason why the kitchen hands is not doing it is because there's bandits on the road and they know they'll get attacked. So um, we have a little encounter planned. There's plenty of social on it, and so just building off of that, um, there's a little item that they can get that can take them to another city. A broken sword. Um, there's quests for them to go and retrieve a special ore. Um, Getting the ore is going to be tricky because there's a colony of Kruthic, which is um, a monstrous creature that kind of reminds me of the um, insectoid-like creature from Star Wars Episode 2, The Clone Wars, where it's going after Anakin Skywalker. And then, but the Kruthic are actually or they are sentient, so they can communicate, but they only know how to communicate in Kruthic. So if someone knows how to speak with them, they'll find out that this place that has the ore is actually a sacred area to them. Or no, it wasn't a sacred area. It was a place that they retreated to. Not the cat. That one went after Padme. Was it Padme? Yeah, I think it was Padme. Um, it's the insect one with the claws and everything. Kind of, kind of remind me of a praying mantis initially, but a little different than that. But the Kruthics, let's see here. Let's just pull them up. Monstrosities, 1/8. There we go. Yeah, kind of like the spider thing. Yeah. Yep. Real stabby. Um, these guys are pretty easy. I mean, a 1/8 challenge rating. They should be level 2 at this point. 2 or 3. Um, yep. Stab. Pack tactics. Tunneler. Because they can move 30 feet, climb 30 feet, burrow 10. Pretty simple on the movement and everything. Um, but we're gonna, and then they speak Kruthic. So if the party actually finds a way to communicate with them, then the Kruthic are actually going to let them know, hey, we need help with something in our home plane, which is a elemental plane. I know normally there's like the earth, fire, wind, water, or something like that. I'm just having it be all-inclusive. It's elemental plane because there is an Azure there that has kind of taken over the Kruthic cave system, but the Azure wields a cursed item that is causing the place to be toxic to them. And so I'm still trying to fiddle around with what I want that cursed item to be. But it definitely has to have something to do with like acid or something. So I'm thinking like maybe be able to cast some sort of first level spell once a day that has an acidic element to it. So, um, and of course they could just kill the whole colony. um, but that is going to be a lot more challenging. Um, what I foresee them actually trying to do is just get enough ore, which is a minimum of 5 pieces of this S-bit ore. Um, that way they can take it back to um, the... Oh, who was this quest giver? Oh, interesting. I've got their... It's the Ember Strike uh, smithy. Let's see here. Uh, there we go. Um, yeah, Ember Strike. It is Rosette Ember Strike. Um, and she's needing this ore to create ceremonial daggers for uh, some sort of coronation. However, uh, she doesn't have the materials, and she's never used it before because it was written in her father's journal, who has now passed away. So that's why she's after this ore. So, so there's that quest. Um, but yeah, if they go ahead and go that route, I'm going to go ahead and do some uh, different things with their experience points. Um, so yeah, this is interesting because they've got quite a bit they can do. Um, so small area, we'll say that uh, mountains slash hills containing Espit ore 0.31. And right now I'm only adding the far right column, which is the obtained, just so I can track to see what possible level they end up at. So right now at 6 points. So they could possibly end up at level 4, and that's after dealing with the bandit layer, which I still don't have fully in here. Starting city, bandit layer. That is going to be a 0.63 because that's going to be a medium area, 2 to 3 sessions of exploration. Um, I mean, it's possible that it's going to take 2 to 3 sessions. It's also possible that they just run in there, charge up to the bandit leader, kill him, and get out. But I definitely want them to. I want to give them that option of exploring and coming to the realization of if you find stuff, you're going to find that items, especially magic items, give you rewards. So like I need another row right here. Nope, I don't want there. I want it below. Acquire health potion of health. Potion of health is a common item, so it's going to be worth 0.25 points. Um, but they're also going to be getting 2 of them. So quantity. So yeah, there we go. Now we're getting up there. Um, they're going to get another row below. Um, acquire horse and cart. This is a quest from something in the fields where there's scarecrows that are attacking people. Now, one plus for me as the DM with horse and cart is they have to pay for boarding. um, so now, if they go and acquire a common amount out in the wild of horses, they're going to have to bring those horses in for training because, I mean, wild horses, you can't just hop on their backs and expect them to follow your commands. So, let's see here. Let's get the last few things transferred over into here. That way we know what we're looking at. Um, adventurers needed for kitchen help. So there's something stealing from the local kitchen, which is immaculate and organized, but the sign is going to be dirty and grimy, and because it's been up there for a while, this individual just has not had any luck. This is actually one of the cheaper paying quests at 20 gold. However, the kicker is that they get lodging whenever they're in town. Which, I mean, at an inn, that's very useful. Now, is that can I put that in here as like an item? Exploration. Exploration, yes I can, as a small area. Um, and so I'm just going to go here. Nope. Starting city, sewers. And we're going to go 0.31 on that. And that's just a small little place that they're going to explore and level up. Or get experience points from it. Now, the quest normally calls for a kobold. I don't have kobolds in the Soakmore Kingdom, so it's going to have to be one of those humanoid races. Maybe a pair of halfling or gnome twins, or siblings. So, that quest is going to be a non-combative one, though they can easily slaughter the 2 children. Um, but yeah, let's see here. We've got our boss for the early campaign, which is the anonymous bandit boss Zathos. He's worth 1.25 points. We have the side quests here, um, worth 0.31 points. Clear the cellar, which is a minor story plot, which is the starting quest, 0.63 points, and then clearing the bandit lair. Alright, we then have the starting city. We have the mountain slash hills containing the Espit ore. You can also put hipster glasses and call it. uh, oh, interesting. Historic kobolds were basically gnomes. I did not know that. Hmm, that is interesting indeed. Um, bandit lair. Alright, what else do we have? Okay, we have 2 other quests that have little areas we can include. Um, so let's go ahead and include those. want those bars. All right, we have something in the fields. So so I don't want that. I want farmer fields. And we have the strange sounds, which is the monastery crypts. There we go. Both of those are 0.31. And this is being broke, which I do not appreciate, but it is what it is. There we go. Alright. There we go. That's more accurate. Items acquired. Um, we have a horse and cart from the something in the fields. We have kitchen's help. Doesn't really have an item to give, but it does have the experience from exploration. We have strange sounds providing 2 potions of healing. Broken sword from the cellar. Clear the cellar. +1 weapon, which is uncommon, so it's worth 0.5. Also part of needed materials. So, yeah, I think we've got a pretty good jump start on tier 1 with a possibility to take them up to almost tier level 5. So that is a good start, especially since they don't have to or might not get all of those experience points. I think the only thing I really would like to see is maybe a goal for the big bad in here. But I need to really figure out who the big bad is. I have some ideas. I have some ideas on the big bad where I'm thinking of having the Bone Mirror Empire trying to invade again up into the Silver Kingdom. And actually, the Bone Mirror Empire invading is going to be a huge part of this campaign story arc. So, yeah. Well, I think with all of that, I've actually got quite a bit that I can work with. Um, I've got the first 2 quests very well detailed out to having the information I need. Um, the others, though, I need to figure out how I'm going to put information in about the anonymous bandits to try and make them more, um, more Clint or more of a threat in the region. And I need to tie that into uh, the next big chapter of the campaign, where they're trying to earn prestige within the realm, and that is going to be with an individual named Mortimer. So, currently we do not have any girls in the party. I've only got 1 player signed up for the campaign right now. Um, but a clothing store or a hat shop in the campaign, that makes for a fun session. I've done that before when I did a little bit of home brewery in the Faerun world. Um, we had they had a fun shopping session in Neverwinter. Uh, One of the players actually even had art commissioned for their character with a black dress on. But all the players, except for one, ten, really had fun with it. The one that didn't was trying to break away from the party and tried doing their own thing. Um, so it really pulled my attention all over the place, or back and forth between the two groups. Um, and because it was just them, they didn't get as much attention. But they also were doing nefarious things, which actually landed them in jail. uh, um, Really, I should have let them take up that opportunity to do something they've been asking to do. And so looking back, I mean, hindsight 2020, um, I should have let them uh, proceed with like choosing to play another character because they'd been asking me for months, and I really should have let them. That's the one regret on that. Um, but they were a fun group. That was my first group actually. Um, that campaign ended a little over a year ago. I don't miss it. It was a lot of stress. Actually, that was a good player. um, it's just they didn't care for that kind of play, and so. But yeah, that campaign ended up being just a slog, and ended up just canceling the campaign. Um, they had a final session, and that was my first TPK. Not on purpose. They rushed a situation, um, and they went against um, some sort of fiend that just um, the players did not play in an optimal way, and so this creature just wiped the floor with them. Uh, I know it was a fiend. I'm trying to pull it up. Um, but yeah, I mean, ever since I've started doing Curse of Strahd, I've just been having tons of fun with it. Um, let's see here. I know that we were CR18. Let's find it real quick. Amnesu. Uh, it's a fiendish devil that is actually pretty terrible to deal with. Um, but the character was, well, some of the players were one player who kind of made it so it was really tough for me to keep enjoying it. Um, Decided to cast heat metal on a devil who is immune to fire, and I told him, "Hey, this guy is just laughing at you as he seems to enjoy the metal being warmed up for him." And he kept using his action to cause this heat metal, and I'm just like, dude, he's immune. He's not taking any damage. He just was not picking up on it. But he'd already wasted like 4 turns on this. And so, uh, when you can't pick up context clues, uh, so, um, but yeah, I think with all that, um, definitely off to a great start with being ready for the campaign starting on the 5th of January. Um, oof, I've got 2 more weeks and then those campaigns start. Um, yeah, that'll be interesting. This is going to be fun. Um, so, well, I'm going to head off. You have a good night, Morganus. Margaret. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I kind of alluded to, Spelljammer's not quite my thing, but I would be interested to see um, kind of like how you set up and prepare for it, because um, I've taken some other uh, campaign books and looked at what those are like for different games, game systems, and I've taken some of their rules and said, hey, let's incorporate this. So, um, but yeah, you have a good night. I'm going to definitely see about getting some other things ready for tomorrow night, where I'm going to be streaming a live play of one of the Dragonfly Spire Peak quests. I'm going to be streaming Circle of Thunder. We're going to be playing that um, starting about 8 p.m. Pacific, and we're going to play for about 2 hours. So, uh, with that, have a good night.